Hey everybody. So today I'm here to talk about the Google I/O keynote that happened about 6 days ago now. I am on vacation. Apologies if you hear some Italian city noises. It is loud here, but we're going to go over kind of what I found watching it. So I watched the normal keynote, I watched the developer keynote, and I watched half of the other like individual videos, but honestly, I'm on vacation and it was not super fun to watch. So I wanted to do what I could, but equally didn't really want to spend too much time on it. So we are going to go over everything that I found in about 30 minutes because my friend and I are going to the beach, so I got to get through this quickly and not delay her. So we're going to start with the most important thing. Basically, Google said they are moving to an AI platform shift. Like that is like their entire pivot is towards AI. So they are leaning really fully into the AI of it all, basically. And that means that we are going to have a lot of changes. Now, interestingly, in the developer keynote, Sudhar, who is like runs Google, essentially Google search, said that one of the big issues that they saw with mobile is that what most publishers did is that they went with, okay, we're going to take our desktop first model, and then we're going to just slightly shift it for mobile and essentially just shrink it down. And then that meant that it wasn't really optimized for mobile. And the same thing is true for AI. He said, basically, you need to start thinking of AI first, and then you're going to figure out how to use AI. You're not adapting existing stuff. You're using AI as developers instead first. And a big thing that they're focusing on is like single web page websites with that, which was really weird. And they didn't talk about how that's going to impact Google Ads at all. They didn't talk about how that might impact publisher visibility. The examples that they gave were things like Airbnb and stuff, who obviously monetize in a very different way. So that remains to be seen, but that's where they're moving towards, where they're pushing their developers. Now, if you don't know, the Google I/O keynote is very much for developers. Like it's more for them than for us. The section on search was the longest part of the keynote. Yes, I am ridiculous. And I sat there and I timed exactly how long the search section was. So it was the longest section of the main keynote. But when you consider everything else, obviously the whole focus of it really is on developer ideas and how they are going to be shifting things going forward, especially using the Gemini model. So I have a million notes. I am going to eventually turn those into a more in-depth blog post, but I'm going to be like looking between them for now as we start running through them. So let's talk about search first. So search was the longest section by far. It was about 21 minutes long. The next longest one was about 15 minutes. So very much the focus. Interestingly, the first few minutes started off with them talking about hardware and like, oh, we have all these special pipes. And I was like, dude, we don't care. Like no one cares about that bit of it. Even developers, like that's not really their focus with the search section. So it should have been in a different section. But essentially their goal is to help answer your questions better, is what they argue. And they had this horribly cheesy movie at the end, or like I guess ad that was like, no matter how you search, you're searching correctly because our AI is so smart. And everyone in the video looked really dead behind the eyes, which was like a poor marketing choice on their part. But essentially, what they're trying to do is make it so that any user can use AI and not need to know anything about prompt engineering. And that is a problem. That means that we are going to have people putting in prompts and then the AI is determining their user intent and maybe not correctly. AI has so many biases, and this is something that's my friend and I, while we've been here, I keep ranting about it, they haven't really addressed, like they didn't address at all in their talk, and that really frustrated me. Now, the way that it's going to work is they're basically saying Google will do the Googling for you. And so essentially the AI is going to go out, comb the internet, do your research for you. And they have it like, they kept saying multimodal, like that's their buzzword of the conference. They tried to joke that it was AI and it's like, no, your buzzword is multimodal because you will not stop saying it. And we get it, calm down. But essentially that means that like the multimodal approach means it's not just doing one task, it's actually moving between different sections. And part of that is that it's looking at different elements. So with that one, it's like whatever you give it, the information you give it, it's going to go out into Google and use Google systems, so like Google Maps and stuff, to look for real-time information. Then it's also going to use ranking systems to see like what Google liked in the normal search results. And then it's also going to like plan and think and research for you and then give an answer. So it's supposed to sound like it's super fancy and it's thinking so hard and it's doing all these things. And what we're seeing so far with what Google is doing with their AI answers is not that. And it's incredibly gameable at this point. And in fact, they've pushed it back to the point of like how SEO was like even 10 years ago, where it really is like just say the words in the right order and it'll just listen to you. And that means for getting some really nonsensical things in the AI answers so far. So they're also talking about like their unparalleled ranking systems as usual, which we all know are not the best thing in the world, unfortunately. But they're focusing a lot when they gave the demos, just like they did last year. I rewatched my own video on the Google I/O keynote last year, which you can find on my channel if you want to watch it. But they're really focused on like, we're still showing the links to the publishers. Look, you'll be able to see where this information came from. But they were kind of hidden, and like they were giving a desktop view, and even on desktop you can only see two of the places where they may have gotten those results, and it's like 1.5, and then you have to scroll over to see the other ones. If you're on mobile, you can see like maybe one, and that's not going to be super helpful. It's also taking up a ton of the page. In all of their demos, when they would like scroll to get to the point of actual content, they had to scroll like 3 full desktop screen loads before they were even getting to the point of content sites being listed, because they have so many new Google things. And essentially, Google is telling us they don't care about content sites. That's it. So essentially, they're saying like what we really care about here is getting our own stuff in front of people. So that means that they want to get their AI options, or AI overviews as they're calling it, in front of people first. They don't show in any of their samples where ads and sponsored listings are going to fit inside of that. So we have no idea where those are going to slot in. I expect they'll slot in before some of the other widgets, but I don't think that they'll be pushed down as far as the actual content. And then they had things like if someone was searching for date night restaurants in Dallas or romantic restaurants, it would list all these individual restaurants, but using their Google My Business profile. And then if you like scrolled a bit, it'd be like, okay, here's just the best ones. Now here are the best ones with live music. Now here are the best ones with this element. And so essentially Google is telling us, these are the things I think you might want to filter through these restaurants. But the only way that it's deciding which restaurants to show is Google My Business. And that's going to lead to so much gamification of Google My Business, especially because like it's really all about star ratings. There are already people buying like reviews online from Fiverr and things like that to adjust their star rating. And Google doesn't like that, but like they're just making it more probable that that's going to happen. Then they had like a giant map, then they had like a bunch of other stuff, and then finally we got to content sites. So we're really seeing that it's pushing out the information, and that does bode poorly for us, unfortunately. It really sounds like, even with Sudhar saying that like they are focused on AI, and like he was talking to the developers about like, for your app, make sure that like they stay on your app, make sure everything is in your app, everything needs to like one-stop shop, always use your stuff. I think he gave away the secret of what they're doing there. I think he's really trying to say like, we do not want to send anything to anyone else. We want it to stay within Google. We want to get everything. We want people to pay us for better ads to spotlight them. We want people, like there are now paid ads inside of Google Maps. Like they're really focused on the business side of thing. And that's going to probably ruin Google My Business and Google Maps, unfortunately. But it is something definitely to be cognizant of. Now, I know that that sounded really doom and gloom, and like, not gonna lie, like I feel doom and gloom right now about this, but equally, when I watch back my one that I did last year, they said so much and they did so little of it. So I don't know how fast a lot of this stuff is going to roll out, and I don't know, like we still aren't seeing regular schmegular people care about AI. In fact, most of them actively dislike it. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, essentially, their point with like the AI answers is that you're going to need to Google less. So you're not going to need to do as many searches. Instead of doing 10 different searches of like dog-friendly beaches in Miami, okay, now where to park near the beach, and which of those beaches are off leash, and dog-friendly restaurants near those beaches, or something like that. You can do it all at once. That's really the goal of their AI overview, which like if that was just the goal, I would be more okay with that, because they would still need to give links to us to be like, okay, if you even think of ChatGPT, where it hyperlinks inside the text, the AI overviews are not doing that. They are linking at the bottom. And that means someone gets the information and also doesn't necessarily know which part of the information came from which website. Hopefully the titles are clear enough on the website that it would like make sense, but it's unclear. We don't know for sure. So that's coming, but we're not 100% sure what's going to happen with that. What I'm upset about is that they specifically said that Google and their bots are going to be doing this research on these websites. So it's going to be combing websites. Where are publishers getting reimbursed for our content being combed like that? Like when it was at a glance and it was really meant to be more like a featured snippet where, okay, it's a featured snippet, but the whole point is to drive traffic to you. The whole point is that they never leave the Google search. Like if they leave it, they're going to a business to get whatever they need sorted to hopefully feel more satisfied faster. Whenever I talk about like silo structure on your website, like people want to click less. That's kind of the same thing here in theory. So I'm not loving this, and I'm interested to see if it lasts. Now, Lily Ray has been doing amazing things on Twitter talking about this for ages, and she's brought up two really interesting points. Number one, everyone who tested it all of last year said, we need clear links to publishers. Cite your sources. Where did this come from? Give us information, like help us. And they didn't really do that. They tested getting rid of it entirely, and everyone revolted. Even like normal users who were just testing it, like said, where did I get this information? Like, please tell me. So they did bring those back to some extent, but at one point they did have a variation where it was more like ChatGPT and cited in line. That's not happening now. Then the second point she made that I thought was amazing, and I think she might have retweeted someone saying this, I don't remember, but please check out her Twitter because it'll be there. Basically what they said was, if we're reducing 10 searches to one search, why do they keep saying we're having more searches than ever? If people need to search more, it's probably because they're not getting the answers they need the first time. Typically, what that would say to me is, okay, if I'm trying to search for like best pizza near me and nothing comes up, I'm going to adjust my search to get a better result. So what I infer from that is that it's not doing as well as they think it's doing. And I do expect like that's the vibe you got for sure, is that like this was so incredibly rehearsed as it usually is, but probably things are not as clean and organized as they might seem on the front. And that's usually the case with conferences anyway. So let's go back to my posts. Oh, so then they also had a like trip and meal planning example. They always use trips, and then they kind of abandoned the trip example and went straight to meal planning instead. And then they said, planning is really hard for AI to get right. And the note that I have beside it just says, no shit. Because it's true. Like it is very hard for AI to plan properly and to really reason through things. But their goal is to let it do that. They really want it to be able to do everything for you. So they gave this option of doing a meal plan. So you say like, I want a 1-week meal plan, essentially. And with that, I will say, props to them, it brought up individual recipes for sites for you to go to. And you could adjust it. You could say, actually, like make all the breakfast vegan or something like that. You could adjust as you wanted, and then it would create a shopping list for you and it would save those websites. So it is going to drive traffic to those websites. It's not just giving you the recipe, although I think if you were to ask it, it would give you the recipe. So something to consider. But equally, they gave no indication on how things are being chosen to show up there. So I would be interested to see if everybody typed in like, healthy meal plan. First of all, what's health? Like, what is that to them? But also, are everyone going to get the same results? And the point of this really, they were saying, is like, it's going to be more customized to you. It's long-term going to remember you more. Think kind of Discover, but not really. Discover seems to be separate from the AI of it all. You're basically supposed to get something that's more customized to you. I don't know how true that is because they really didn't cover it. And then they said, they're like, you're going to be able to make a printable shopping list. And we're hoping it's going to be like something that we could even do the shopping for you, which is like very clearly them saying, we're trying to partner with a grocery store or something so that we can get a cut of you ordering your groceries, which like, hustlers got to hustle, I guess, but Google does not need more money, so that's weird. But after bringing up trip planning as an example, they never showed trip planning. And so I wonder, this is conspiracy theory, Nina, allegations, whatever. Allegedly, maybe they don't have that function ready yet, because why wouldn't they show it? And they did try to announce it on Twitter recently, but there have been no demos really. So I wonder why they wouldn't demo that, especially because that would be a big moneymaker for them if they're going to go through booking.com or something like that, and get the affiliate commission for themselves. So then, what's the next thing? Oh, they specifically referenced the shift as well of the search result look going from like having, where I said it had the 3-page scrolls, they specifically said it's also going to come. So at the moment, it's like, what, why, how kind of questions where it's like, okay, why would you go to Rome? Why do dogs walk on 4 legs or something like that? Like it's basic explanations, but they specifically said it's coming to hotels soon, which is definitely them coming for affiliates, 100%. So that's something to consider as well. They also talk about like it's a new era of search. Interestingly, in all of their top results, Quora is the #1 thing that would show. So anytime it had a source, Quora was the source, which is a problem because I think everyone knows Quora is not a very good forum, even if you like forums. Quora also has a built-in AI answering stuff. So is AI training AI in there? Like that's going to be weird to find out. Then Reddit did not show up. So, which is interesting because they have the $60 billion deal. And if you go and search anything, Reddit basically shows up, but they really omitted that from like anything they had live. So that's something to consider as well, is like, why aren't they showing that? Because that is the reality of search results. And I don't think it shows that they recorded this a while back or anything, because this has been happening since like September. So that's not new, unless they recorded this in August, which would be weird. So I thought that was interesting and something that people hadn't brought up yet, but something to consider. Then they have a new form of search they want to have coming. It's probably going to come in July, they said, but they didn't say everywhere. So I think that might just be US, but essentially it's video search. So if you use image search with the Google Lens on like the Google app or something, you can take a photo, search it or translate it. I'm using it heaps here trying to translate menus because my Italian turns out is not nearly as fresh as I thought it was. So trying to find out what a menu is, it'll auto translate it. They're going to have it where you can actually like record a video and be like, okay, why isn't this working? And then it's going to tell you how to fix it. They basically broke it down that the way it's going to work is what it's going to do is break it down to images and then process every image individually. And then it's going to look at, and this is the order they said it in, articles, forums, and videos to stitch it together for an answer. And they use the word stitch it together as well. So essentially, they're saying it's image search, which just made it fancy, first of all. They've also said that articles are their first source of information. Articles are the only thing that they really don't own of that, because like they own a forum now with their deal with Reddit. They don't own it, but they've like licensed it. And then for videos, like those are on YouTube. So like I do get that even though individual creators made it, it's still on YouTube. So something to consider there as well. But they didn't share any links to show that off or like really see how it would work. And when it did give the answer to one very simple question that they kind of skipped through really quickly, it didn't have any sources. So that's going to be problematic for sure. Especially like I was recently trying to like fix a coffee machine at Dad's house, which like wasn't fixing, it was more so I couldn't find a button, it turned out, that there needed to be. And I watched so many YouTube videos. I like tried to go through Google, could not find an answer. I had to call my sister at work and then like embarrass myself when I found out it was just a button. And I don't know that if I had just like used a video, I took a picture and I tried to search it that way, nothing came up. So I think a lot of it's still going to come down to like, they need content creators to produce that content. And they are, especially with this, like they did nothing to try and calm content creators down, which is a massive issue. So there were a lot of other things. I'm trying to keep this short. It's already long. So we're going to try and run through a few others that were happening. But essentially, they were talking about like, with all of these different changes, the real thing that they're focusing on is Gemini. Gemini was like their focus for sure. That is Google's AI. So Google's AI is basically its version of ChatGPT essentially, and it's what they're going to use to run AI overviews. AI overviews are going to be like an AI generated snippet at the top of search results. Its length varies. It's usually really big. Currently, there is no way to turn it off easily. So actually, like Microsoft came out and was like, hey, just so you guys know, you can always toggle off Copilot. It's so easy because like clearly trolling Google. And Google was like, silence, no response. There's a really complex way to do it. I'm going to share that soon because I found it on Twitter. It's saved. I'll share it with you guys later. But there is a way to do it. It's just hard. And unfortunately, as publishers, to opt out of our stuff being included in it, we also have to opt out of being on Discover and in any Google snippet. So you're sacrificing a lot for that to happen. And that's going to hurt your site if that's a choice that you make. So it's hard to figure that out, like what's good, what's not to do with that. Google also kept hyping like, we have the longest content window or input window of like any software. But then they also kept saying, our system is so smart, you don't need it. So I was like, okay, guys, which is it? Which one is going to work then? So currently you can put in like 1.5 million tokens, essentially is what it's trained on. And soon it's going to be 2 million. Now, this is definitely more for developers. We basically never need to put in 2 million tokens. And that's novels, essentially, putting in multiple novels, putting in over an hour of video, and it would learn off that data, which also has problems because they never addressed specifics for privacy and safety and security with all of these things. That was a huge issue for me. I don't love that as they talked about everything, especially like with AI on Google Pixel phones, the AI overview, basically like the little like their new Siri kind of thing, is going to work across the phone. So it can read everything. It can see all your pictures. It can do everything. So where's the privacy there? What are we protecting? And they just kept kind of like hinting like, we care more about your privacy than ever. It's like, well, then tell us that, like show us something that's specifically related to that. And actually watching the developer keynote, that's where I saw it more. They spent so much time talking about like how we're protecting your code. We're going to make sure that your apps are safe. And I was like, what about the content that feeds your whole freaking business? And they didn't really have an answer. The only thing that they had that's going to be, I think, kind of good is that they've already introduced a watermark to their new AI images, and that's going to start rolling out to their text and also to their video outputs. So that is going to make it easier to identify those things. Because one of the things that they've done is created hyper realistic images. Like the examples they gave were almost all women. And when you have a lot of examples of hyper realistic fake women, it immediately becomes apparent who you're kind of trying to target with that. And it does seem like that could cause a lot of safety issues for women. We're already seeing like celebrities having issues around that. There was a US state that recently did say you have legal rights to your image and other people cannot reproduce it without your consent. But that was one individual state, and it was such like a minor thing that no news stories really picked it up. I found it on TikTok under like a lawyer that I watch all the time. So I'll find that later and cite it. But it was like not even talked about that much, which is interesting because that's a huge case. So yeah, there's a lot that needs to happen to kind of cover that. I don't think a watermark is going to be enough because anyone, like we all strip the TikTok watermark, we all strip the Instagram watermark to share it to the other one. People can remove a watermark, and especially insidious people can always do that. And so I think it was a flaw of theirs to, I mean, I know it's like a professional business meeting and probably not the place to bring up like revenge porn and SA and things like that. But that is very much a real use case we're already seeing for AI, unfortunately. And they did not address it anywhere that I could find. So I would also just have like not used a bunch of images of women. Instead, like they had a picture of a wolf. Let's stick with wolves. Let's stick with like food. We do not need to show like how well it can create humans, because do we need that in society? Then there was also the issue. So I kind of teased this on Twitter and I think on Facebook and Thread. I don't know. I teased it in a lot of places because I thought this was really interesting that no one had really brought it up. But essentially, they kept talking about how Google Workspace is going to work now with Gemini inside of it. So it's like you have your own little assistant who has access to everything. And they don't have a privacy policy up yet about how that's going to work. I tried to find it, tried to read it, couldn't find it. If it's supposed to be out there, or if it is out there and you found it, please send it to me. I would love to go through it and analyze it. Maybe force my lawyer dad to read it with me and we can like record something about it. So please send it to me if you find any. But I couldn't find anything on that. So at this point, it looks like it is just collecting all your data. And a big thing that they said its use cases is to read emails. Now, everyone's talking about, especially like in like the Raptive and MediaMind Facebook groups, like, should we stop blogging to stop giving content to Google? It's like almost a protest or something. Instead, should we just send emails to our audience because Google can't see them? Spoiler alert, Google can see them now. So if the Gemini system can read those emails and learn off those emails, and you sent that email, but you didn't consent to your data being like reviewed by that Gemini system, what's going to come of that? Like, and that's where I started to have more problems with it. It's also like, it just summarizes like action steps or here's exactly what this says or whatever. But even if it's not providing you with a reason not to like you have to open the email for it to do that. So open rates are still there, whatever, but the AI is still getting the data. And I think that that is where this feels even more insidious, is that it's not, there's no clarity around any of those protections. And that wasn't great to me. They also talked about like in workplaces, like having like an AI teammate that you can literally like email, you can CC it on stuff, you can add it to the group chat and it'll like synthesize data for you. It looked so annoying. It looked so like, you know, anytime you like message the group chat and there's like that one person that needs to like reply to everything that's said, even if you specifically didn't ask them, it's that person. But now it's in all your business. So I don't know that that sounds great. I do believe that because they're working so hard at like focusing on small businesses, not content creation small businesses, but other small businesses, that they will find a way to protect that data. I know that like my friend who I'm here with, they work with a professional organization in the UK, and their business, like they chose a certain AI that is not Google because it will allow them to protect their usage and their input so that the AI will not get those like industry secrets or whatever you want to call them. Because if we remember when ChatGPT first launched, was it like Sony or something, like inputted all of their code and then like a bunch of people nearly got laid off because suddenly that was out there for everybody. So I think that there will be protections in that case. But I think with general users, like even think of like Snapchat, like essentially on a phone, they have this feature now where you can circle anything and it'll just search it. And they're saying they want to pull it out to non-Android. They want to put it out to everybody. Snapchats are meant to disappear for a reason. I know that they don't fully and everything, like there's issues with that already, but like I don't want someone being able to like search my Snapchat or like screenshot my Snapchat. And there's issues there with like security and stuff, and they really weren't addressing that. So yeah, to me, this could cause issues with newsletters. The other issue it could cause is something called Notebook LM, which is essentially for teachers and for students to learn. So Notebook is like for students to create like an interactive study experience at home by themselves. And they've also coded it to make podcasts. So if they're doing that already, just in Notebook LM, when are they going to just start making AI podcasts? And so essentially they were saying that like the guy who was on stage, whose name I don't remember because I didn't write down any of their names because I was just mad. Honestly, I was pretty mad. They were like basically like, oh yeah, my kid learns better by like listening to an engaging and lively discussion was the word that they used. That's personalized for the individual. So what did they do? They uploaded all of the students' workbooks and like lesson plans and stuff from the teacher. Consent? I don't know. No idea. Inputted it into this AI and then asked it to create a lively discussion around this. And so then it had a podcast essentially going of two speakers asking each other like, I don't know. Yeah, so like that arc of the basketball is how the quadratic formula works or some shit like that. It was not great. But it was even so like you could interact with it and say, okay, but could you use an example of that related to this thing? You could interrupt it. You could basically have a conversation with it. It did have a massive delay that reminded me a bit of like, you know, when you watch like the news and they like throw it to someone else and that person stands there like, thank you, Karen. Like that's what it felt like. It was so slow. So I think it's not going to be the best, but equally it's an issue. So I do see that becoming a potential issue for podcasters in the future. Right now, it's more of an issue for teachers. And when I was in the UK, I met with my old prof from my uni days, back living in Toronto now, also talking to a teacher friend of mine. And all of them are saying like what a problem AI is in school. And if you watch the Google Keynote, you would not get that idea. You would get the idea that they are saving teachers and like they are like on the Abbott Elementary train and they are like the most amazing people ever. Teachers hate AI. There's issues with AI and like also So I met, I don't know if they want me to shout them out, but I met a company who deals with a lot of like AI detection when I was at a conference in New York. And they said like their number one users are education areas, especially universities. So like basically universities are desperate to detect AI because there's so much issue with it. So many of these things that they're talking about, there's like generative images, there's DeepMind, which is like sounds really creepy for what it is, but essentially it's like we're building AI responsibly to benefit humanity, which is gonna end up in a sci-fi novel that ends poorly. Like that's just where we're at. They have generative video called VO, which they should have used to fix their audience because there was whoever had the applause button on was so delayed. So there were so many times no one would clap. And then they'd also pan to the audience to be like, oh, look, like loud clapping. Not a single person in the audience was clapping. So I was like, y'all, who edited this? Who sat here and let this happen to you all? Like, come on, put it together. They also talked about, oh, there's so many things. Yeah, Workspace. There were some good things for accessibility. I'm going to make this even. So they did talk about like with accessibility, it'll now do real-time captions in live meetings on Google Meet in 68 different languages. So that's amazing. They're also like giving different companies in different locations the base of Gemini so that they can train it on their languages and then create an AI that works even better for their business and their language. So they had an example of like Hindi. Like in Hindi, there are just different cultural things the AI would need to know to understand like how to work in their type of work environments. And so this team was like creating their own version of it to help their audience. Now that does also mean more people are still using Gemini. So I think for Google, they're fine with it. Yeah, they talked a lot about like having the Gemini app now. So there's going to be like an app that you can use it on with gems. Gems are trained for you. They are just custom GPTs and they are so behind Chat GPT for that. They said it's coming in the coming months. They couldn't even give like an expected time for it. So it's going to take a while. They talked about having, yeah, Android kind of coming to everybody a bit more. There was a cool thing as well, like if people called you and it was clearly a scam call, you'd get like a notification, which I think like my grandma could use, honestly. It was like, hey, your bank will not ask for that detail. This is probably a scam. So things like that where it's interesting, but that whole like they're always listening to you thing is fully realized now. We're seeing that 100%. There were two other things I want to cover before I jump off. I know I'm over time, but they also had in the Gemini app, they finally did a different how to plan a trip workflow of like how they're going to use this to create trips for people. The output looked bad. I'm going to start with that, but it could get better, unfortunately. And I do think this gamifies it a bit for people. So essentially they said, and they literally said that this would take hours and take you like so many days to try and like set this. And it's so much hard work. And then they went, but we can do it in a click. So essentially what happens is you would type in like the example they gave is like I'm going to Miami for a long weekend with my son who loves aquariums, my husband who like hates seafood or something. I don't know, like there were a bunch of things that they put in. Search my email for my flights and then give me an itinerary. So it's going to look at the dates that you're traveling. I think that's fine. That's like interesting, like that it can tell you how long you're going because apparently you have amnesia and you don't know. But also it then pulled like, okay, here are day itineraries for you with hours put in and you could adjust it. So it would give you a few ideas of like, okay, it really overpacked it. It was supposed to say like, okay, and then here are some restaurants within 15 minutes. But just glancing at it, I was like, some of those things are far from each other, like the actual things you were doing in the day. And equally, where is it getting that? And I expect largely from Google My Business and articles. So if the articles stop, if things change, they are going to have a problem. And it's really interesting how little they care about that. They're basically like saying that their chatbot has like the giant window of accuracy and it's, or pardon me, giant window of knowledge and it has like all of this information. But like a lot of that information is from Reddit and Quora. And like I've seen some really weird shit there. They don't talk about the accuracy of like most of this. They even had like, it can go through your essays to give feedback. And like schools and teachers are specifically saying not to do that. Like there was a girl on TikTok who talked about for a while, she went viral for a bit. She used Grammarly to spell check her essays and then nearly got kicked out of school for it because the school said, you've used AI, it like flagged our detector because actually Grammarly uses Gemini. And so even though she was not using it to rewrite or anything, she nearly got kicked out of school. And that's like, it just shows that Google does not care about people and doesn't care about what's actually happening in the world. And that's really frustrating. When they were talking about like, they have a whole responsible AI section that like, was any of it responsible? Not really. Everything that they talked about was like, we're working with like scientists and people in our team and people in academia. But they didn't like, and they talk about how they're trying to find like, prevent people from misusing the models. They're not talking about the models like changing society or hurting society, really. Their responsible AI thing seemed really, really focused on like people not misusing the AI itself. And they're doing something called red teaming, which is where they try to break it and find weaknesses. And then I guess they got bored of doing it themselves because then they let the AI do it. So now they have AI testing itself. And there's a reason that we don't grade our own homework, everybody. So like it seems so flawed. And it was really disheartening to see that and to see that like that was their version of responsible AI. It didn't talk about how it verifies sources of like the information going into Gemini. It didn't talk about how they're going to deal with like bias in any of this. It didn't talk about like AI is incredibly biased, especially from what it's read, especially from academia. Like academia is very whitewashed and there's a lot of heteronormativity. There's a lot of things like that. Like how is AI going to deal with that? Literally in the Lyrical Facebook group yesterday, I think Jenny, the one who runs Lyrical, posted that she asked ChatGPT for a photo of a woman in a woman who was disabled, thinking about the future. All the pictures are of a white woman in a wheelchair with a generic dog, not a service dog, watching kids play soccer for some reason, or watching kids do something at a park or something. But it's always wheelchair with disability. If you ask it to create someone who's autistic, it's a boy who looks really sad, like things like that. So it has a lot of intrinsic bias. It's inherently racist, unfortunately, and things like that that were not addressed. And there was no like, we are training our AI to be more diverse. There was an amazing commercial by Dove that my friend and I were talking about recently, where they basically said, like, if you asked AI to give you a beautiful woman, it's this skinny blonde, like tiny Barbie person. But if you ask it to give it, according to Dove, what's a beautiful woman, because they have had like so many campaigns around real bodies and real people, it actually gives you like way more diverse results. And it's so cool. But it also shows how little you have to do to train it to do that. Like it took a couple extra photos or something to make that happen. And they're not doing that. So basically, what does this mean for bloggers? I don't know, because I don't know how much of this is actually going to get created in the next year. We saw last year they hyped so much of this, and a lot of it didn't fully happen. SGE is like still not fully out, and now they've changed it to like AI overviews to some extent. So we also don't know how real users are going to like it, if they're even going to want it. We don't know what negatives are going to come from this. Already, the bit of AI overviews that they've launched so far are not great answers. They're either exactly the featured snippet or very easily, as I said before, gameable by just like using the words of the question. So it's like, why is the sky blue? The sky is blue because X, and that sort of stuff there. So not going to be perfect, unfortunately, but I also think going to be actively bad at this point from what we're seeing. We're unfortunately in not a great stage, and I'm losing even more confidence in Google. Now, I've been very fortunate that my She Knows SEO site, totally fine. My Build in Public site, totally fine. Like genuinely, the last updates didn't touch them, which is really great, or at least since before I got to Italy, because I haven't checked since getting to Italy. But they were doing great. And so for me, like I am in a very fortunate position where like I have not been hit the way other people are, so I don't need to be reactionary about it. Equally, I'm upset because I think that this is not great for everybody. It's not good for the audience. It's not good for society, and they don't care. And they're really focusing on how to seem cool with AI. And I don't know that we need it, honestly. I don't know that a lot of this stuff is actually useful. And for some of it, I worry what it's going to do to critical thinking skills long term of people actively making decisions for themselves and needing to think critically and needing to decide between things. They're trying to make the voice sound incredibly human, and that's going to mean that people trust it a lot more. And there's issues here, and I don't love it. So unfortunately, I do think that this means that bloggers, while you can still do SEO if it's working for you, and I do think like for me, obviously it's still working, so I'm happy with it. I am doing more YouTube. YouTube has some issues with them. I forgot to mention this. If you're on Gemini, which they're trying to make like everyone be able to use, but currently it's on Chrome and it'll be on Google Pixel phones, it can just like watch YouTube videos for you and summarize it for you and like give you step-by-step instructions based in the video and never make you watch the video, which like they own YouTube. Like literally, like we are on YouTube right now. If there are ads running, they get that money. Like there's like this is time on their website. This is good for them. So I don't know why they're trying to get rid of that. But even so, I think YouTube is safer for longer. And I also think it's where people trust a real person more. So the people going for a real person like YouTube. Now, if you're more of a text person, then I would say newsletters. There has to be something that's going to happen to protect against AI in newsletters. I don't know what it is, but I do expect that that will come eventually. Perhaps even just like paywalling stuff or something would help, but not 100% sure. So we will see if that happens. And then for me, I've been doing a ton with Facebook groups. Those are like my favorite thing. I met Niche Site Lady in York, and she's kind of talked me into trying the whole like buy Facebook ads to a Facebook page thing. But I love like my micro Facebook groups. Like that's what I was kind of teaching on when I was there, and it's what I'm going to teach on when I go to TBEX in Puerto Rico. But like my little mini Facebook groups drive tons of traffic, do so well with affiliates. Like I had my $110,000 month with like less than 2,000 people in a Facebook group and less than 3,000 people on a newsletter. So like you do not need the most people. And the biggest thing that also came even from like the affiliate gathering summit I was at in the UK is that like we're moving away from an ad network focused monetization strategy and much more towards digital products. Affiliates are good, but really with digital products, you own it all. And I love digital products for a reason. I'm having tons of fun creating them. We're doing a thing in the roadmap right now where like I review everybody's digital product. So like I am fully on board for that. And I also think they're right. Cause like at this point, we're getting to the point where you need to pay for any just human knowledge versus an AI. And I think that that's a good option. So yeah, those are the things I would look to right now. I'm not saying like blogging is dead. I don't think it is. I think it's shifting. And equally, I don't know how fast it's shifting. So I don't know, like, again, like they've said a lot of this stuff was happening last year and then it kind of didn't. So I don't know how much is actually going to shift by the time I check in with y'all next year about like their next keynote and get equally as annoyed. I made 2 different drinking games during it. I don't drink, started drinking. I mean, I had like one gluten-free beer. Still, for me, that's a lot. They said like they joked about how many times they said AI, which was 121 times in the main presentation. I joked earlier and then did it halfway through when I got tired. That anytime they said multimodal, you should take a drink and you will finish your beer within 5 minutes. So maybe don't do it unless you're just gonna do it with water or something. So yeah, unfortunately, I think this is a rough time for everybody right now. I think it's super uncertain. And I think the best way you can feel confident in your content creation business, wherever it is, like Instagram seems to be hemorrhaging right now too. There's a bunch of stuff happening there. I don't really follow it, but it's to create a really strong community, build that community. They will follow you where you go. Think about like when Vine closed down, people followed Vine stars to YouTube and then to TikTok. Even now, people are like following TikTokers off TikTok to YouTube in case that gets closed. So like having diehard fans, that's key. And the way that you build community is by being the most helpful and then attracting those people. And currently, Google's not the attractor it once was. So you might need to find something else. I'm still not massively a paid ads fan. I will test out this method and see how it goes, and I'll report back. But I find like organic Facebook groups, I love them. They're my thing. So that would be my recommendation. And then funneling people to a newsletter. That's what I would do. And then making a digital product and monetizing that way. Recommending affiliates that you've actually used. I think that's going to be key going forward. I think we're done with the get rich quick. Here's an affiliate, the pay is $500 or something, but I've clearly never touched it. I think Bluehost burned all of us when all of us started and someone said, use Bluehost, and it turned out they're shit, but they paid a lot in affiliates. So like, don't do that to your audience either. Make sure you actually test and try things. And if you're in the travel space like I am, press trips are becoming bigger than ever. And I think that paid travel experiences and paid opportunities like that are going to continue to be massive. Even getting like those businesses to sponsor your newsletter, I do very well with newsletter sponsors, highly recommend. So yeah, I'm going to go now because my friend clearly wants to go to the beach and I am late. So I also want to go to the beach. Don't worry. I want to go to the beach too. So I will see you guys soon. I'm going to send this out with the newsletter as well. Oh, geez, sorry guys. I didn't see that there was so many comments. Opinion about Google AI overviews. I think I did all of this. Do you have a background in law? Yeah, I have a background. I worked as a law clerk. Do you think publishers can unite for a lawsuit against Google? There are a lot of people trying that. I don't know. Mediavine just did a post about something like that. The problem is that, like, Google is a US entity. Not all bloggers are in the US. And in the US, you can technically file for a platform closing and removing your income, because people talked about filing for it against TikTok if it closes. However, Google's not closing. They just changed. So I don't know if that would be feasible. It'd be really interesting, but I expect more so copyright claims are going to be the way to go, unless like just generic lawsuits. There is the Web Publishers Association that Ann Moss started, which was something kind of to like start something like this, like have a collective starting. Mediavine did a really good post that they kind of said the same thing, like bloggers need to unite, but they didn't really have specifics on how that's going to happen. So I don't know. So something to consider. Now, someone said, I'm worried about the future of blogging because I'm new to the field. We never know the future, unfortunately. Like my friend and I were talking recently about like telephone operators and like how they used to like patch them across the sea and stuff like that. That just went away really quickly when they advanced tech, and those people were just out of a job. So like, unfortunately, sometimes stuff does shift and you can't predict it. And so personally, this is why, like, even when people were like before, like, are you afraid of AI? Are you not going to like blog because of AI? And they were like, do you think like SGE is going to ruin everything? And I was like, I'm not going to worry till it's here. It's still not here, and it's been 2 years. So same with cookies. They delayed cookies again by another year because I don't think they know how to. So I would just, like, if you don't enjoy it, this is not the place to be anyway, because it is super, super I want to say califragilistic, and I don't know why. That's not a word. Oh my God. The heat is getting to me. I need gelato. Probably a cappuccino too. But I don't know what I was saying. Anyway, so yeah, if you don't love this industry, it's not worth doing, honestly. It is one of those things that, like, it can be very profitable. It cannot be. But the main thing is, like, you need to really enjoy it, at least 80% of it, and enjoy what you're talking about and enjoy your community, or you're going to burn out so fast. Then someone said, from a European perspective, I can't imagine that these things are allowed. Being in Europe now, oh my, the amount of pop-ups you guys have to deal with, the amount of extra consents you get that we do not get in North America is wild. Even going on my own website, I've not seen how the EU privacy policy looks. It's crazy how much more you guys get. We do not care about people in North America and their data. So I expect, like, they always roll out to the US first. And I think that's because the US kind of lets them do what they want. Although California has really strict laws, and a new state, I don't remember which one, recently came out and introduced new ones as well. So they're getting better. Canada, they don't seem to care at all. So who knows? But yeah, I expect that this is going to have a lot of repercussions for them. So I don't know. I mean, I think ChatGPT is still banned, actually, technically in Italy, although I can access it. So I don't know. But I remember they banned it initially. So something's happening. I'm not sure. But unfortunately, for me, this means blogging is not dead. It's just that the platform has shifted. SEO has gotten way harder. In some ways, easier because the gamification of the AI overviews, there's only one person that gets it, but it's manipulative. You can manipulate it. It's pretty easy to do, unfortunately. And if you guys are interested in AI overviews, even though everyone's asked Search Console to put it in there, they have not. But SEMrush currently has it over there. SEMrush, I think, gives you like 10 searches free a day or a month or something. I wouldn't pay for it just for this, but you can input your site and then see what of your traffic is coming from AI overviews, and that can help you start to analyze this. I think it was so smart of them to do that so quickly. they're, to my knowledge, the only one that's done it, but I've also been very intermittently checking Twitter, so not a ton. So just keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to do like a more thorough write-up of, because I have about 5 pages of notes from everything that I watched. I'm going to do like a thorough write-up of it, probably on the plane ride home. So you guys can expect that like next week or so, depending on how jet lagged I am. But essentially, I don't think blogging is dead. I'm so disappointed in Google. And I think it is so shitty of them to just like not care that much about us. And they kind of felt like they were laughing at us a bit because in the developer side of it, they like used a blog post generator as an example, which was kind of shit. So anyway, I'm getting upset again. I'm going to stop. But essentially, don't watch the I/O keynote. Don't give them views. They don't deserve it. They do get money for that if they're on YouTube doing it. Equally, like check in with other bloggers, like make sure everyone's doing okay, because this is a rough time. And yeah, do what you need to do to keep yourself okay. I recommend pizza and affogatos for sure. And if you can at all get to Italy, go to Italy, because it's much nicer than looking at Google search updates and looking at your search console. Okay, I'm gonna head out. It's so hard to start this. I'm not actually sure how I end it, so we shall see you guys soon. Bye.